This is Valentine Ozigbo. I am from Anambra State, Agwata local government, Messi, it's a town. Well, I'm going to just tell you my story so you figure out whether there's any growth in it. I usually like to introduce myself as a child of grace, somebody who um, has actually done a few things, but God, in His own infinite mercy, chooses to magnify those little things I've done to become something. And my, that grace was actually made manifest, not just in the nurture, but also in the nature. My birth, my upbringing, my growing up in the village, and all that happened throughout my journey up to the present day is a complete manifestation of grace of God. I am the last child of my parents. My father retired as headmaster and catechist, and we grew up in multiple villages. Was born in Umuomak in Orumba South. I started primary school in Akpo, which is what we call Uguntujiebe, boundary between Akpo and Ajale. And then I came back much later to Amaisi, my own village, to complete my primary school. And that's where I did my secondary school. And in all these, I was that child that wanted to do his parents proud. I was also that child that learned the dint of hard work. That is not the most talented who succeeds in life, but somebody who hungers and works hard for it. I was also that child who was in pursuit of excellence, who wanted to shine through anything that I do. So I apply myself to the fullest as much as I could. And so this has been what has shaped my trajectory. And so, primary school, I was one of the best students in class, and also in the secondary school, repeated the same feat. As a matter of fact, I was fortunate to be called back by the principal, late Father Anyora of Ozigbo, to teach as an auxiliary teacher. And I taught physics and maths at a very tender age. And this was how my confidence level was properly honed, such that I went to University of Nigeria, when I went to University of Nigeria to study accounting, I was able to make the best result both in the department and in the faculty. And I had my MBA in the same University of Nigeria, and also eventually qualified as a chartered accountant, became a fellow of the institute, and also a fellow of multiple other bodies. Eventually gained Chevening scholarship, went to England for my second master's, and I left with distinction in MSc Finance at the Lancaster University. And eventually again enrolled in a program we call Global CEO Program, which was conducted by three universities, SBS in Nairobi, Lagos Business School, and ESA, which is a Spanish university. But in their New York campus, I was elected the president of the class, which I am till today. So again, you will see grace of God in all this. I can't tell you I was the most intelligent, but God has always shown me mercy in all the things I've done. In my working career, you will see similar fate. My story moving into banking, another miracle. Right from my university days, because I made the best result in financial management, my reward was to serve as a copper in Now Merchant Bank. That's how I became a banker. I knew I was going to be a banker before I even graduated because the job was secured. By the time I spent my 1 year youth service, what I did in that bank, made it such that my manager actually cried when I was ending my service. And getting into Diamond Bank, I was posted to Warri Branch. But within 6 months in Warri Branch of Diamond Bank, there was a need for different branches to vote for their best staff, and I was voted the best staff of Warri branch, and Warri branch was voted the best branch of the bank. And I became the best staff of Diamond Bank in Nigeria. And by the time I got to my fifth year, some banks already started headhunting. They came and recruited me as a pioneer branch manager. Within a year, broke even, and I eventually got another job in FSB in Abuja as an acting regional manager. By the time I left, this was when I traveled to England, and by the time I spent up to 15 years in banking, I had gotten to a level of general manager position. And that's the position I was, doing a lot of things in banking. I was head of international banking, head of embassies and multilaterals, head of offshore liaison, head of global transition banking. I was actually now moving from one country to another to open banks and train over 2,000 bankers in Nigeria. Before I was headhunted again to become the CEO of Transcorp Hotels PLC, which I did. I ran for 7 years. I transformed that place by the grace of God with my team, and we're able to and get that hotel to become the best business hotel in Africa and won many global awards, including CEO of the Year, both in Greece and in Spain in different years. Before finally I became the head of Transcorp Group, the president of the group, which covered all the businesses of hospitality, oil and gas, power, and what have you. Now, in all this, all I just needed to pick out here is grace of God has been made manifest. And there are many other things that I've done in life, in my private capacity, in my philanthropy world, in the religious world, and I can only say a big thank you to the Almighty God. I touched on those already by letting you know, hardworking, someone in pursuit of excellence. But there are two I want to bring out clearly. I think the best gift God has given me is gift of emotional intelligence. I have said this over and over to anybody who cares to listen. For me, it's the most important success factor you can think of. There's no better success factor than this, because in it you also find God. In it you will understand the need to love humanity. In it you find and discover yourself. The very first part of being emotionally intelligent is personal authenticity. Being able to not lie to yourself, tell yourself the truth, admit your strengths and your weaknesses, know what you need to do to work on your weaknesses to improve on it. And then that what drives you, if you then imbibe this culture of continuous improvement, you figure out that you will always seek for ways to get better and better every day. Now, that's first part of being emotionally intelligent is one thing I thank God for. Is what makes me humble, because if you lie to yourself, then you're finished. If you're honest to yourself, you will know that you're just a mere creation of God. You're a mere mortal, and you're the that human being that something as tiny as mosquito can bite and give you malaria, man, even kill you in that process. So knowing that vulnerability should serve to humble you. And that takes me to the second part of being emotionally intelligent, which is also a way to fulfill that God injunction to all of us to love God and love humanity, is to give respect and courtesy to a fellow human being. When you're able to leave everybody, almost everybody you meet in life with a positive impression, this becomes your motto. You are on your way to making history because you accumulate amount of goodwill for yourself. And this is something that I've practiced unconsciously for many years. And thank God also I have found myself in hospitality space, service industry where all that we strive for is to make another person happy and comfortable. If you work in a hotel environment and you understand this, you would go the extra mile to make sure somebody else is happy and comfortable. So that is one thing God has done for me, to imbue in me that spirit of respecting a fellow human being. And when I say this, I don't mean the top. I mean even the people that are downtrodden, those at the grassroots, whether your housemaid, your driver, your gardener, your gate man, showing respect and courtesy. And what I say to people is, if you don't respect those people for who they are, because you think you're better than them, then respect the God in those people, because we're all created in the image and likeness of God. And then that takes me to the third part of being emotionally intelligent, which is social awareness. Knowing your environment, knowing when to speak, when to listen, when to keep quiet, and all of those. If you master these three aspects of personal authenticity, respect for fellow human being, and social awareness, then you're emotionally intelligent. And this is what I think God has done for me. This is what defines me. And that's why people, whoever you meet, and you talk about Valentine, 90% of people will tell you the same thing. I'm at peace with myself. I love God, and I want to respect a fellow human being. And this defines every other thing that I do. Well, I've started already. I shared with you my father who died at age of 93, going to 94, retired as headmaster, principal, catechist. My mother, who by the grace of God is still alive, touching about 86 years old now, and petty trader, now retired, homemaker, a wonderful woman. She is an inspiration to me and my siblings. I am the seventh child of my parent, the last child, born on the seventh month, 1970. And so people see a lot of sevens in my name. I say, maybe you're special. I don't know if I am, but this is who I am. And if you also, I had wonderful eldest brother who unfortunately we lost in the Sicilisto plane crash, but he was my model. He mentored me in many respects. So it was part of my growing up history. And eventually, um, I I want to say that he remains a blessing. Now, but my own immediate family, I have a wonderful wife, Ojigo Ozigbo from Abia State. She is the best gift God has given to me, and we have four amazing kids, three boys and one girl. And of course, the girls is also VCO, Valerie Chioma Ozigbo. And Mario is the first, Chioma is second, Ugochukwu is the third, and Chima is the fourth. And I think God's just been amazing. It's an interesting question, and it's a long story, and I'm going to just keep it short. I am insisting that the story of black man must change in this world. I have been to a lot of places and I've seen that God did not create us unequal. We are not inferior. If there's anything like being superior, we are. Or at least we are the same with every other person. And so others cannot be moving ahead and our story remains silly and unacceptable. How do we change that story? I went into politics realizing that that story can be changed. And the best place to change that story is in Nigeria. Best place in Nigeria is Igbo. And Anambra is seen as the headship of Igbo. If our brothers and sisters in Israel that are so interlinked with us have done these amazing things, they have led the entire globe in the areas of science, technology, agriculture, and what have you. If they have achieved all this, it tells you that with leadership, there's a lot we can do in Anambra State. And that's why I came out with a mantra, Kanambra Chawapu. Anambra now needs to blossom. We can't be a light of nation by mouth. It has to show. It has to show. We have to be exemplary in everything. If we take this by our identity, our Jewish heritage, our Hebrew heritage, we take this by historical, where once we used to be the fastest growing in the world. If you even go back to the Ibuku Bronze days, Bronze years, and then all that has happened and how we have, achieved so much in almost all spheres. In the religious world, we can boast of having the only saint out of West Africa in the Catholic Church, two cardinals alive. In the literal world, you can boast of the Chinua Achebes and Chimamandas and co. In the entertainment world, you can boast of Osadebe, Oliver de Coke, Flavor and Co. In the business world, I can't even begin to name them. They're incredible. There's a lot to demonstrate that Anambra is special, but we've not shown that much in leadership, and I think it is time. This is time for that to happen, for Anambra to chawapu. And this is also taken from the inspiration from the Bible, Matthew 5:16. Let your light so shine. Let it so shine so that people can see your good deeds and glorify your Father who is in heaven. So by the way we will make Anambra shine, those who don't know God will come back to say, wow, now I believe there is God. So I want to see how I can use Anambra to actually evangelize, to show that we can catch up with the rest of the world, to show that that's Proverbs 29:2. When righteous and godly and good people empower, the people rejoice. Let's see that made manifest so that our wilderness years will be over and a new dawn will be here. By getting Anambra right, you are actually inspiring Alibo to be right. It will be catalytic. And by Alibo being okay, that's one third almost of Nigeria being okay. So by even what we do in Anambra, we've touched the rest of Nigeria. I just responded to that question now. But to be more specific, I think we're unique because we are first sons of God. We are from that origin. I just mentioned to you our tie with the Hebrew. God is the one of the sons of Jacob. Eri is the fifth son of Gad. And if you go to Aguleri, it'll take you to Obugad, and you get to hear this history and how our relationship is so tight to the extent that some people have done DNA to actually prove that there is that relationship. So that makes us special. The people, the intellect, our history makes us special. What we have gone through, through adversity, people, wisdom surfaces. We have been able to demonstrate that we can think outside of the box. We actually can be very creative. If you even go back to the technological base, the Dioka, from where you have Umudioka, Oka, you'll see that we are the progenitors of technology. So it's inborn, and that tells you that we are special. We're also the state with the highest concentration of billionaires in Nigeria. So we're special. What is one state that actually that's inspired the rest of the world? Nnamdi Azikiwe inspired Nelson Mandela that you hear of, and all the top leaders of Africa that led the independence era. So there's many reasons, plenty of reasons. I think God created us special. In fact, the more we talk about this, the more the envy comes. So let's talk less about the special nature of our numbers. Well, no, I got off corporate world, jumped into politics in 2021. That's when I ran for governorship, and started the process in 2020. That's when I actually left Transcorp in April, to be precise. And so before then, nothing to do with government, never held any position. However, I have done stuff that has equipped me far better than those who have been in government, because I managed Transcorp PLC, which is owned by 300,000 Nigerians. That's already more number of people than those who vote in Anambra in the last election. And I was also to also manage over 1,500 staff. So I've dealt with institutions, human beings in great number, and done this also in a private sector environment where performance is the key. because in government, nepotism and a lot of issues that we face in government make actually such that when you get so deep into government, you become too yoked that you can't even be the solution provider anymore. So sometimes this come from outside of the place to be able to rescue. So I thank God for the experiences I've garnered. But to answer your question directly, I've never held any um, public office. Well, I think I've already captured all that. I've mentioned all the offices I held in banks, in Transcorp, in beyond that, even in the church. I was the chairman of Unusual Praise in 2018, the biggest Catholic gospel event in Africa. That was done in Lagos, and I led the team to bring it to Anambra State. Last few weeks ago, we organized the fourth edition of Unusual Praise. And under my leadership, we started what we call Unusual Entrepreneur, which is a faith based empowerment system to be able to match economic empowerment with spirituality. If you bring the two together, you transform society. And then beyond that, I have founded two companies that I'm very proud of. One is the VCO Foundation, my philanthropic venture, where I used to touch life. We've invested over 400 million naira and empowered over 300,000 people in different times. Particularly during the COVID period, we did a lot of things first before any other person, could come in. And I also started a company called Fit and Tricks, which I have been chairing since 2017, organizing freestyle football championship. Since 2017, we've organized several editions, and eventually in 2018, we added the African edition. And in 2023, for the first time, we were part of those who organized the World Championship in Kenya. This year alone, we've run two events, the Nigerian Championship in Lagos and the African Championship in Algeria. And the two winners, the first winner for Nigerian Championship, Blessed Zakabudu, is from Anambra State, and he represented Nigeria in the African Championship. But the lady who won the Nigerian Championship eventually won the African Championship and represented Nigeria and Africa in a global competition in Italy. Just came back a few days ago. So I'm using these platforms to touch lives. And honestly, there's nothing better than impacting positively to humanity. A leader is somebody who influences many people, even in the secret, to be inspired towards a positive action. There are leaders and there are leaders. For me, the best form of leadership is when you have a mastery of the trajectory, where you know where we are. You know the right place we should be targeting, the vision, and know what it means, what's required to get to that end. And so it takes understanding of the now, doing a proper diagnosis of the current situation and position, having the right vision, inspired vision, where you can actually have an imagination of what is possible, what is executable, and knowing all that's required, the key success factors, and how to inspire other people into that vision to get to the end. That is the true meaning of leadership. And in saying this, I I want to also bring in the God factor in leadership. When people lead organizations, lead states, countries, we usually say it is God's will. That's correct. If God wills that you can't be, you can't be. But if you go back in time, and even in the biblical days, you'll find out that there were many leaders that came out of Israel and other Babylonians and others. And you find that there are sometimes some people are put in leadership position as a punishment for the people they are leading. And so I am looking forward to where we don't just have people who are leading because God has tolerated them to lead, has permitted them to lead, but rather God has chosen them to lead. That's when you can actually get leadership right. When you bring God, character, competence, capacity all together. That's when Romans 8:30 will be fulfilled. For those he predestined, he calls. For those he calls, he justifies or qualifies. And for those he justifies, he glorifies. On their hakoneto. Those are the people he glorifies. And when you see God choose somebody like Moses, like David, like Solomon, like Joseph, all these people, you will see God calling them. When such people are in power, that's when the people will rejoice. Not when he is allowing somebody else as a punishment for the sins of the masses. And that's why our prayers for leadership should be well guided, for God to choose himself those people that will lead us, that will bring glory to his name. Many, I, a lot of politicians are selfish and nepotic and therefore transactional. They go in there for just what is in it for themselves. They don't go in for the interest of the masses. They don't go in to serve God. They just go in for themselves, for their akborakbo, for their friends and families, for their well-wishers, for their gang, for their cult members. And when you have such people, the people will continue to suffer. And so what I beg everybody for, what I crave for to become, and what I believe I am becoming, is a purposeful politician. When you are a true citizen, it will be what I call enlightened self-interest. As human beings, we should be mindful of our interests, but not at the detriment of the other. What is good for me that can be good for you, that's what we should be craving for. So let's have more purposeful politicians than transactional politicians. Because unfortunately, if you go to a state, you be you find it so difficult to identify one purposeful politician, unfortunately. So there are many transactional politicians, and I'm not saying this to feel superior or better. No, I'm saying it because that's what it is. And we can shift people's mindset. People's mindset can be shifted from being too transactional to being purposeful by a number of things, by preaching, by orientation, but also by proper law and order environment, when there are consequences, when people get punished for being too selfish, too greedy, too corrupt, others will begin to sit up. But when corruption pays, everybody actually steals, and then the more you steal, the more you're even celebrated. Why wouldn't people keep stealing? And this has brought several damages to the name of politician. That's why when they now say to you, you're a politician, well, I can't deny I'm one, but I want to say to people, I am not a transactional politician. I'm a purposeful politician. Well, this is not campaign time, so I'm not going to campaign. But one thing I know is certain. Anambra people are not happy the way they are being led today. I know this because I've gone around to ask. I know this because I believe in the power of social media. I know this because every institution is complaining. The church is complaining. The Igwes are complaining. The town unions are complaining. The civil servants are complaining. The lawyers are complaining. Even those who are part of the problem are complaining. Even the cabinet members are complaining. So who is happy? Anambra people are unhappy. And so, simple, logical. What do we do? Leave it like that? Clap for? No. Something has to happen. We have to have a change. As of today, Anambra people are not seeing any other credible alternative than myself. I have also come to know this because some have even called me and said to me, if you don't come out, we're going to beat you up. I don't want to be beaten up, so I will come out. So, guess what? Um, the reason they are yearning for me, I may not know all the reasons, but the ones I can hazard a guess. Number one is that we ran the race in 2021. I came second in that race. I could have won that election. We know what happened. And a lot of people are in regret, saying we made a mistake. Now they are looking for an opportunity to correct their mistake. The second part is that in 2023, we all labor to see how we can get a good man in power in the presidency. Some of us led that charge. I was one politician who came out early enough to say this is the right direction to go. Despite all the promises from all different quarters, we followed our brother Peter Obi, and I traveled different countries of the world with him, fighting that battle. Led his technology strategy and global alliances strategy. And we pursued all this. Guess what? Our own brother who is leading now is saying, no, this man does not qualify to even contest. He's not even in the race. And he was so derogatory that if you did this in 2023, imagine what he's going to do when he feels it's now his turn to run. So it is important that Anambra people make that determination. And there are only two options. It's either you want him or you need a change that's going to bring me. I don't see much other option. Yeah, some people are running around and all that, but usually if you want to remove an incumbent, then you have to build capacity around that person that has got the greatest momentum. Every social media poll I've seen has taken us to 98th percentile, meaning that there's no need to start off another project. So I am begging other people who may be nursing ambition. Yeah, they may have good intentions, but I would plead, let's come together as one. There's no need to reinvent wheel. I think this job is already defined. Do you want Anambra to progress, or do you want the status quo to remain? And so, do you want the current governor, or do you need somebody like me? So, at appropriate time, I will tell Anambra people all about myself again, the vision I have for Anambra, how I feel we can get it done, and also hear and listen to other people with their own ideas. I am that person that believes I don't know it all. And by us coming together, we can have a powerful force for good. As a matter of fact, nothing can change in this country without law and order. It is the foundation, it is the pivot, it is the ground game that must be gotten right. Let me explain this carefully. There was an interview I conducted, which going live today on AIT, and I made this point to show my disappointment with the current regime, both at the national and state level. There's nothing else you can do and achieve, and I'm choosing my words again carefully. You see, the insecurity that we're talking about, the fact that petrol price is at the all-time high, that exchange parity is at all-time worst, that the fact that there's hunger in the land, you can name all these things. There's no other policy of government that can tackle any of this without the foundational work on law and order. What does that mean? It means an environment where there are consequences. And in Nigeria, you can get away with murder. You can You will hear, for instance, that Boko Haram storms barracks, kills how many soldiers, nothing happens. Nobody gets punished. You will hear that some people go to jail, prison, break the prison break, and every prisoner disappears. Nobody gets punished. You can hear the only time people have gotten punished when some minors have come out to protest for the hardship, and that's when they arraign them in court. Now, there's nothing else that can work in such an environment. The reason why I say this is if you talk about there's a MBS record now about judiciary being the worst in terms of taking bribes in Nigeria. What are we doing about it? Nothing. If you hear that election is conducted and INEC has declared somebody as winner in an improper manner through a wrong process, nothing happens. So until we get back to where there are consequences, and this is also where our challenge is not just leadership, it's also about citizenship. It's actually about our people saying enough is enough. Saying, and no way will we accept this going forward. Because the power, the ultimate power is God's. Next is the people. When people decide to do on the right, God helping them, they will succeed. And that's why I feel that in Anambra State, taxation policy with no human face, where you desecrate law and order, you break people's legs, you create havoc, you strangle people. There's this Onisha Chamber of Commerce former president that was strangled, has gone to 3 hospitals now looking for life rescue. When these things happen, come on, come on. It's human beings who are leading. We are meant to love humanity, not hate and show wickedness. They're already fully integrated in everything that I do. So, matter of fact, my foundation has always been targeted towards women and youths. And this reason is not because of voting. I started this foundation long before politics. Reason is because they are the most important. I find women the most reliable. The youths are the future. If you don't get this to right, forget the country, forget the society. So we must always internalize. And that's why, even in my last dispensation, when I ran for 2021 election, I insisted on using a woman as a running mate then. Doesn't mean I will insist on women this time, but the point I'm making is that I have always understood the importance of identifying with women and their capacity. If you also go through the Kanambra Chap mantra, you find that these things have meaning for everybody. If you go back in time, see what our women did, even during the wartime, you see what the Aba women did and Umuada still doing, you know the power of women. We must emphasize this going forward. And then if you also go to the youths, I mean, that's where the energy is, that's where the creativity is, that's where in fact, the source of hope, all the things that even bring us pride in Nigeria today because of the youths, whether it's the entertainment industry, music, technology, and they're the future. So why would anybody interested in future development not prioritize these two? I don't even know the definition of those words anymore. The job is so important that um, I just I just thank God for any moment I have to catch some rest and start the journey again. And the reason is, in the past, I used to really be a master of enjoyment. I used to tell people the best holiday you can find is a cruise holiday where you are traversing different countries, riding on the sea and all that. That's my best form of unwinding. But I can't even remember the last time I thought about going on a cruise because there's no time for it. So, but at the same time, I love it when I, it's my new discovery these days is, actually going to God in prayer. Sometimes also with my family, where we truly want to praise and worship God and calm my nerves and spend some quiet time in his presence, and that's the best thing that's happened to me in recent time. And but I once in a while, I find myself, mingling with my friends. They are loved, my God. From the interview we have conducted today, you see how special truly we are. I want to say that there are three things that we need to get right. Number one is that we need to understand that leadership is the key. After God's power, the next is political leadership, political power. We must get it right. Otherwise, we don't have any chance of catching up with the rest of the world. And what we have today is not good enough. That's number one. Number two, citizenship is something we have to take more seriously. Let's not fall into those two categories by the grace of people who are selfish and who are just nepotic, who are tribal. Let's be true citizens, those who go and strive for common good, a better society. Let's be selfless in everything that we do. Let's give attention to the other person. And this is why when you're also about to elect a leader, don't bring in those primordial sentiments. Oh, he's from this zone, he's from that zone. Oh, he's not my brother, I don't know him. Ask who has the right character, competence, capacity, compassion to get the job done. If you go by this, then you're purposeful, you're not transactional. You're selfless, you're not selfish. Be a proper citizen in the Anambra, because you need proper citizenship for God to come down to help us. And make sure we have the right leader. Together, we are going somewhere. Finally, let us also be those who are inspired by the Kaizen principles, a culture of continuous improvement, who believe that we may be doing something right, but there are better ways of doing it. And in doing this, let's also be circumspect in the way we celebrate. Let's not be too outlandish. Let's not be too loud. Let's just be strategic in what we do. And if we bring these three things together, right leadership, being true citizens, and right culture. If you marry these three together, oh God, if you know how Anambra will become in our own lifetime, you will sell your Alan Nagi to make sure we achieve it. God bless you.